Do subscribe to Bookstream YouTube channel to receive latest updates on this audiobook. Click the bell icon to receive latest updates on other book reviews. No More, No Less. Author Sandesh Shanmugam. Chapter 5. Complication of Human Mind. Not long ago, in the dawn of 20th century, the famous physicist William Conrad Rontgen discovered an invisible beam of light of high intensity. He called those powerful penetrable high-energy photons as X-rays. Since it's discovered, these radiations is used in detecting not just the wear and tear in industrial metals. These X-rays also lead to the finding of basic molecule of life called DNA. It is through X-ray crystallography the very famous helical structure was unveiled to the scientific community. Since its inception over a century later, these high-energy beams are used in the diagnosis of inner linings in the brain. The studies of human brain anatomy also led to more scientific breakthrough in the field of medical imaging. The non-invasive mode of visualizing an organ without any painful incision is a path-breaking effort in the field of medicine. From the generations of CT scan to a whole new technology of ultrasound imaging, the brain scans were made possible in this era for careful understanding of the brain and its physiology. In the 1980s, the advancements in electromagnetism, medical imaging also helped the engineers to design and redesign as well as develop another complex machine called magnetic resonance imaging. This tool is used in wide places for neuroscience research, especially functional magnetic resonance imaging or fMRI are powerful enough to link in bridging a gap to understand the physical, physiological and psychological aspects of the brain. All these complex machines are assisting the doctors, neurologists, neuroscientists to provide a solution for the complex problems and also to find out the mysteries related to human cognition. The works of many scientists in the field of neuroscience is path-breaking. The recent advancements in computer technology is assisting them to predict, prescribe and relate cure of the disease through evidence-based approach. Moving on to the problems faced by the human mind due to faster lifestyle, stressful work, genetically modified or pest control based chemical food intake is causing many lifestyle change. The spread of diseases once unknown to our great-grandparents are becoming a routine or a norm in our modern world. There are few amazing persons who have done research on some extraordinary feat. Most of the times the media world try to provide more negative publicity by imposing fear amongst us about violence, oppression, war and health crisis. One might ask why. The reason is that since we left our caves to find food through hunting animals for fresh meat, the survival instinct is always triggered in about which is mentioned in the previous chapter. The news and media are more interested in triggering our emotional center. There are indeed many complications in these emotional regions of brain. A condition called Capgras syndrome or imposter syndrome is all about the damage caused in the emotional center or the pathway to it of the brain, which results in a person who will never believe or accept his or her family members and considers them as imposters. Similarly, the extension of this syndrome wherein a person believes that he is dead is termed as Cotard syndrome, which is due to damage in sensory regions and limbic systems. There are more number of such syndromes and other diseases to look into. We all have heard and known that the children are capable of mimicking any individual. Well, it's not only them, we too are capable of it. Wonder why and how? The reason behind this is due to mirror neurons. These mirror neurons try to mimic the activity of the external environment to the perceiver's brain. It is said that these mirror neurons are the cause and reason for the survival of the culture, learning, linguistics, art and music. There are many complex conditions relating to the mind like bipolar disorder, wherein the sufferer has wild mood swings and are capable sometimes to possess high creativity and sometimes into extreme levels of depression. Agnosia is a condition wherein a person is unable to identify objects and people, but possess a healthy sensory perception in brain. Stranger than that is the phantom limb effect, wherein a person feels or believes the presence of the limb even after the amputation for long term. Anosognosia is a condition wherein an individual, as though he is disabled, resists his disability and convinces himself to be normal. All these are neural anomalies or maladies which are quite interesting for a person involved in the investigation of neuroscience. But they are extremely traumatic to the known friend and family of the subject. These and many more works of such are highlighted, researched and investigated by the famous Dr. V.S. Ramachandran in his book Telltale Brain, which is a masterpiece for those who are curious in the field of neuroscience. He also discusses about the term synesthesia, wherein the person can able to sense and perceive multiple sensory inputs. Few of the famous personalities are bound to have these symptoms. The symptoms involved in perception of color in music, smelling a fragrance in mathematical equation, hearing few sounds through colors while painting. It is said that the famous personalities like Albert Einstein, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Leonardo da Vinci and Paul M. Dirac had some or the other forms of neurological symptoms. These symptoms are very odd to accept, and neurologists and neuroscientists claim that these odd phenomenal perceptions are due to miswiring in the audio-visual pathways inside the brain. Similarly, the works related to the memory and learning is made possible by great research involved in Appalachia, a sea snail residing near the beaches of California. The famous Nobel laureate Dr. Eric Kandel has spent his entire lifetime to understand the process involved in short-term and long-term memory. He also highlights about a person named HM who lost his ability to perceive new memory due to the removal of hippocampus area in his brain. Brenda Milner, who worked on this patient, often presented this in her scientific proceedings. HM initially had some constant seizures, consulted with the doctors and made a decision to have a small surgery. After the successful surgery, his seizures stopped. But the aftermath of the surgery was devastating. He could not be able to generate new memory and became amnesic. The memory before the surgery was intact, but the new ones couldn't be able to consolidate to form the long-term memory. Taking this example, Dr. Eric Kandel describes this through the classification of implicit and explicit memory. He also mentions about the types of learning with the terms namely sensitization, habituation, classical conditioning and operant conditioning. The simple reflex in the gill movement of aplasia through tactile stimulus has revealed more about the working of memory in the neuronal circuit of that species. He highlights that constant repetition converts the short-term memory into the long-term memory, resulting in the protein synthesis. Memories are formed anatomically through synaptic connections, wherein a synapse is the node between the two dendritic ends in a neuron. These synapses are the site for learning and memory, which releases serotonin, which aids in the protein synthesis. His work are immense. One can find his work through his own words on the book called In Search of Memory. While talking about memory and retention, another condition similar to that of Parkinsonism is remembered. One of the pioneers in understanding a rare condition called encephalitic lethargica, whose work is inscribed in the book Awakenings and also adapted as an Hollywood movie under the same title, starring the famous actor Robert De Niro and Robin Williams. He is none other than late Dr. Oliver Sacks. After the World War, in the dawn of the new century, many children suffered from strange sleeping sickness disorder. Those who were affected went into a trance state to an unknown intrinsic world of no possible return, sort of a vegetative state similar to Parkinsonian in nature, which was studied and analyzed by Dr. Sacks. Later, due to the advent of new drug, L-Dopa, which transformed and gave the promising effect to those patients, lasted only for a few short durations. In the 60s, this drug created a sensation, and all the patients who were admitted to Mount Carmel Hospital in New York City awakened to the then changed world. It was similar to that of a computer reboot in an office after long hours of software upgrade done by the logistics team. The works on L-Dopa was really amazing in the initial phase, but later the side effects of the drug included constant tremors and tics on the patient. One such patient, the hero of the story in the book, The Awakenings, Leonard L., as well as the hero in the movie Awakenings, Leonard L., it was through him that the drug was tested and experimented upon. His character is so vital that even in the movie adaptation, the story unravels through his life. Both Robin Williams and Robert De Niro have done justice to their characters portraying Dr. Sayer or Sachs and the patient Leonard L. on the movie. In his work on the book, Dr. Oliver Sacks mentions during one spring year in the 60s, all the patients were awakened by the drug and were highly active, alert and lively during interaction. Clinically, this drug L-Dopa induces in the secretion of a neurotransmitter dopamine, which eases the rigidity in the muscles and prevents them from the state of Parkinsonianism. Some diseases are still questionable by many and are still under research. Some, like temporal lobe epilepsy, which results in strange experiences of visions and hallucinations, has affected many saints and seers of yesteryears and those lived in previous centuries. The physiological and behavioral science is another branch of study which helps in understanding the effects of actions and some fallacies involved in its studies. The field of psychoanalysis, founded by the famous Sigmund Freud, is learned, understood and practiced by many. The behavioral psychologists, neurologists, futurists, computer scientists, behavioral economists and neuroscientists like Ivan Pavlov, David Eagleman, Dr. Jose Delgado, Miguel Nicolas, Dr. Philip Kennedy, Professor Hugo de Garis, Ray Kurzweil, Professor Henry Markham are blending technology in the study of human brain so that a thorough understanding and creation of a virtual blueprint of the brain might result someday to solve mysteries, complexities, understanding of various disorders and complications involved in the human mind. I hope you enjoyed listening to this audiobook. Do subscribe to Bookstream YouTube channel to receive more updates on this audiobook. Press the bell icon to receive other updates on book reviews. Thank you.